शान्तिर्विश्वे देवाः शान्तिर्ब्रह्म शान्तिः सर्वगं शान्तिः शान्तिरेव शान्तिः सा मा शान्तिरेधि यतो यतः समीहसे ततो नो अभयं कुरु शन्नः कुरु प्रजाभ्यो भयन्नः पशुभ्यः विश्वादिदेव सवितुर्दुरितानि परासुव जद्भद्रन्तन्नःसुव ॐ शान्तिः 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 सुशान्तिर्भवतु। नमो नमः सर्वेभ्यः। On the occasion of the 138th birthday anniversary of Dr. Kanayalal Maniklal Munshiji, the founder president of Bharati Vidya Bhavan, I welcome you all and the speaker, Professor Malhan Kulkarni, who will deliver a lecture on new vistas in the research in Vyakarana Shastra. Kanayalal Maniklal Munshiji was an Indian freedom fighter, lawyer, writer, and statesman who helped shape modern India. Munshiji was born on 30 December 1887 at Bharuch, a town in Gujarat state of British India in a Bhargav Brahmin family. He was deeply influenced by the revolutionary ideas of Sri Aurobindo. He was a virtual member of the Constituent Assembly and served on the drafting committee that created the Constitution of India. In 1938, he founded the Bharati Vidya Bhavan, an educational trust dedicated to preserving Indian culture and values. A prolific author writing under the pen name Ghanshyam Vyas, he is considered a pioneer of the historical novel in Gujarati literature. His famous literary work include the Patani Prabhuta, Prithvi Vallabh, and the Krishna Avatar series. Now we pray over heartfelt tribute to Munshiji on his 138th birth anniversary celebration. Now I would like to request Dr. Sriram Iyer, Deputy Director, Post Graduate Studies and Medical Department, to introduce the speaker. Dr. Sriram Iyer.
A very good evening to one and all. Namaste, sir.
Namaskar.
So, on this very auspicious occasion, we have amidst us Professor Malhan Kulkarni, one of the preeminent scholars in the field of Vyakarana in our contemporary times, who needs no introduction at all. With a sound foundation in grammar acquired through both the traditional as well as the university method, he has established himself as a teacher of high repute for over 2 decades now. Professor at the Humanities and the Social Sciences Department at the IIT Mumbai, he has numerous awards and accolades to his credit, such as the Maharshi Vyakarana Vyasa Samman, awarded by the President of India in the year 2009, and Mahakavi Kalidas Samman, awarded by the government of Maharashtra in the year 2020. He has been associated with several universities based abroad as a visiting professor. He has also been the member of the Board of Studies and the academic councils of many reputed educational institutions such as the Central Sanskrit University and the Department of Linguistics, the University of Mumbai, to name a few. He was the convener for the Vyakarana session at the 17th World Sanskrit Conference held in Vancouver, Canada in the year 2018, and also the 18th World Sanskrit Conference held in Canberra, Australia in the year 2022. He has also served as the honorary director at the Mahamahopadhyaya P.V. Kani Institute for Postgraduate Studies and Research, Mumbai, at the Asiatic Society from 2006 to 2008. His works spread across a vast sphere of Sanskrit studies, especially Paninian grammar, the philosophy of language, and Sanskrit computational linguistics. The edition of Sukta Ratnakara of Sheshanarayana, materials for critical edition of the Kashika Vritti, and Paschatya Nyaya Shastra Pravesha are some of his notable works. Today, Professor Kulkarni shall discuss the new avenues for research in Vyakarana Shastra in the light of modern technology, and we very eagerly await your erudite wisdom. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now I invite the speaker, Professor Malhar Kulkarni ji, for his lecture. Please, Malhar Kulkarni ji.
So first, let me share my screen, my PPTs. Is the screen visible to you all? Let
Yes,
me
sir.
let me do the full screen. I think this is visible to everybody, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
yeah.
Okay. So now I begin. Vishvesham Satchidanandam Vandeham Yokhilan Jagat Charikirti Bari Bharti Sanjari Harti Leelaya. Vishvesham Satchidanandam Vandeham Yokhilan Jagat Charikirti Bari Bharti Sanjari Harti Leelaya. It is a great honor for me to be able to deliver this lecture on the auspicious day of the memory of the great, the legend, Dr. K.M. Munshiji. Although I had planned to be there in person and deliver this talk, I had to alter my plans and decide to deliver the talk only online. I have visited this institute as a student when Professor Suresh Upadhyay ji was helming the affairs, and he was also very fond of me, and I have fond memories of him. And it would have been a real pleasure to be there in person, and I'm surely going to miss it. I thank the authorities of the Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan to have invited me to deliver this lecture. The title of this lecture is New Vistas in the Research in Vyakarana, Vyakarana Shastra. And I have prepared some slides to illustrate certain points that I want to share with the audience. And after that, I will stop and wait for the question answers session, which I hope could be fruitful. But before proceeding further, I want to check if I am moving the slides and they're all visible to you, right?
Yes,
And I'm also audible, right?
sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, because if it is not, then please alert me because so this is the roadmap that I will follow. Then I will introduce you to the overall situation and Vyakarana studies which are carried out in the traditional format. And then there are two examples and topics that I have selected which are something new that can be done in the field of Vyakarana. And these are the examples and these are the topics. and that I urge the budding scholars to think more about, and also to develop techniques in them. After that, I will summarize what I have spoken and will then make some concluding remarks, followed by acknowledgements and also some references, select references. Let us begin with the introduction. What do we mean by what we stated earlier? So, this is a slide with some new technical terms coined by us. This was part of a paper that was published in a journal from Bangkok, and before that, it was presented at Brihad Maharashtra Prachya Vidya Parishad Nasik 2017. And these are some of the technical terms that we have coined in order to successfully render the, the research in Sanskrit. For example, Drikpataha is a term for gaze point. Drikpatadhara is for saccades. Drikpari Nivartanam or Drikprishthagamitvam for regression or backtracking. Drigavasayaha for fixation. Driggalanam skip, and Drikpatadhara Margaha is scan path. Now, why I am showing this slide right at the beginning is for the sake of what new you can do, what new one can do in the sphere of Vyakarana Shastra when the Vyakarana Shastra theories are tested, are also examined in the light of the newly available technological tools with us. These are the terminologies developed in the exploration that was carried out in line with studying the Shabdabodha through the newly available tools, mainly the eye tracker. So, the title of this published paper from this journal is an interesting one, and the title asks the question, namely, can the Shabdabodha be attached with a qualification called Chakshusha? In other terms, we can ask the question by saying, can there be a Chakshusha Shabdabodha? Shabdabodha is a technical term. In fact, Shabdabodha is a theme which is heavily discussed in the traditional Sanskrit Shastras, no, mainly in Nyaya, Vyakarana, and Mimamsa primarily, in order to decide, in order to delineate the meanings that are understood from words, and whether there is any cause and effect relationship in this particular process of verbal communication. That is what is primarily dealt with in this particular discussion, which is brought under the theme of Shabda Bodha. Now, the traditional viewpoint clearly says that Shabda Bodha is primarily related to the Shabda that is available through the auditory perception. It is the auditory perception which is Shravana Pratyaksha, which is what is the cause of the Shabda Bodha. So, Shruyamanam Padam, This is a word that keeps coming in every now and then in this particular discussion. And the Shurya Manapada is considered to be the cause of this entire process of verbal cognition, verbal communication. Now, the question asked in this particular publication is, can the Shabdabodha be Chakshusha also? Obviously, in modern days where we have more means available to us in order to grasp the communicative process, most notably the visual communication, visual perception, the symbols that we grasp through our eyes, they they play a major role in the communication process, and it is they which contribute to the verbal cognition. Our traditional Sanskrit Shastra system, however, considers the Shabdabodha primarily only as pertaining to Shravana Pratyaksha and the Lipi, whose cognizance the traditional Shastras definitely take. However, do not consider the Shabdabodha to be Chakshusha. Now, when we look at this particular technological tool called eye tracker, and when we developed experiments, uh, we asked this question, and definitely we can now trade a new line which was probably not available to the Shastrakaras, and think about the Bodha which can be explained in the Chakshusha terms. So the eyelid movement which is being captured by this particular tool called an eye tracker, that allows you to infer about the overall cognitive gain, overall cognitive load the individual has. And this is something new. This is what I would like to also explain with some examples later on. But this is what I can present to you as one of the important vistas for research in Vyakarana, especially the Shabdabodha theories. So, what is the importance of Vyakarana studies? In modern world, Vyakarana Shastra, as far as Sanskrit is concerned, is gaining far more significance with every passing day. Even otherwise, the importance of Vyakarana is highly understood by everybody. The example is, for example, here on the slide on the left hand side, there is a question posed: what is the gender of COVID? When we use the word COVID, which we don't want to remember, I'm sorry to bring it up, but definitely it was part of our life for some time. And so we can definitely take it lightly and ask this question: what is the gender of COVID? And the next question is obviously how to decide what is the gender of the word COVID and its meaning. Now, this answer is not absolute, of course, it is relative. For example, in French, the COVID word is considered to be feminine. That is according to the French grammarians. If you ask the question why, they will say it is mainly uh, feminine, mainly because of these three divisions that we do in the word co, v, and d. Coronavirus disease, that is the full form of it. And the French translation of this last word disease is maladie, which is a feminine word. So we say la maladie and not le maladie. And therefore that is feminine. And therefore now we will say that the word COVID has got a feminine gender. This is the process the French grammarians followed. And now, if we analyze this particular process, we come to know that there is a certain principle involved in this, and that principle is very well known to the students of Sanskrit grammar, those who have studied Ashtadhyayi. And that principle is the gender of the compounded word is determined by the last member of the components of that compounded word. So if you have three components or three constituents of a compound, the last of them will determine the gender of the overall entire compound. That seems to be the principle that is followed over here. So if we look at the Sanskrit grammarians, we have the sutras like Paravalingam Dvandva Tatpurushayoho 2426, which apply in the similar the case, similar domain, and that is what is applicable also in the modern world. Now, this highlights the importance of the overall Vyakarana studies, overall Vyakarana Shastras in the life. So, that much importance is obviously there for the Vyakarana studies as a research field in academia. Now, proceeding further, as we have seen even in the case of COVID, there were constituents that we kept on talking about. Now, the Sanskrit Vyakarana Shastra also deals with this compositionality as a concept, compositionality of a sentence. And there are three aspects of this compositionality. One should say that there are three layers of this compositionality. The first layer is that of Shabda, the second one is that of Artha, and the third one is that of Swara. So, a Shabda is typically referred to by the units called Vakyas, and the compositionality of these Vakyas is further stated with reference to the terms like Padas. So, a Vakya is made up of Padas, and each and every Pada is made up of two elements which are referred to as Prakriti and Pratyaya. Similar is the case with Artha, where a Vakya is supposed to convey some meaning, Vakyartha. This Vakyartha is composed of Padarthas, and these Padarthas in their turn are composed by the Prakrityartha and the Pratyayartha, respectively. Now, the third layer is that of Swara, where you have a Vakya Swara, the Swara that rests in the Vakya. And this Vakya Swara is composed of the Swara that is available on the Padas, and in their turn, the Pada Swara is determined by the combinations of the Prakriti Swara and the Pratyaya Swara. These are the aspects of compositionality in a sentence as far as Paninian grammar is concerned, or Vyakarana Shastra is concerned. And Paninian grammar happens to be one of the core, one of the important grammar texts in that Vyakarana field, Vyakarana Shastra, and therefore we'll be constantly referring to this particular tradition. Now, the most important point about these three aspects and these three layers of compositionality is that there is a correspondence between the three layers. So, if you have a Vakya, and if you have a Vakyartha and a Vakyasvara, they're all related. And then similarly, just as you break a Vakya into several padas, correspondingly you would have broken the Vakyartha into several padarthas. Rather, if we talk about the process of generation of the sentence, we would start with the Vakyartha and then breaking it up into Padarthas. Correspondingly, we will have the Shabdas in the form of the Pada and the Vakya. And similarly, Prakrityartha and Pratyayartha. So, Prakrityartha and Pratyayarthas, these are also corresponded with the Prakritis and the Pratyayas that we have in a sentence. So Prakrityartha, Pratyayartha correspond to the Prakriti and Pratyaya Shabda. The combination of these arthas as well as the Shabdas will give rise to the Padarthas as far as the Artha layer is concerned, and the Pada as far as the Shabda layer is concerned. And of course, the combination of the Padarthas will give us a Vakyartha, and the combination of the Padas will give us Vakya. Same is also true about the Swara, and this is how the overall system of Paninian grammar and also the Sanskrit grammar and the Vyakarana Shastra functions. This compositionality forms the core part of the Vyakarana Shastra, which is what is being constantly referred to and also researched upon. So there are two traditional approaches of studies in these domains, in these three layers. One is called philology and the other one is called philosophy. The philology brings to light the unpublished texts in the field of Vyakarana Shastra, and thereby it creates various tools also for the study of these texts. And those tools are like dictionaries and indices and quotations, and then intertextual studies, and so on and so forth. And in the domain of philosophy, the meaning of the texts is decided, is discussed. Comparison of the meaning of the text is carried out, and systemic studies of texts in a particular discipline of learning is carried out. And so, the philology and philosophy, these are the two approaches that are generally followed by scholars in the field of Vyakarana Shastra as well. And we see that several texts in the Vyakarana Shastra, they were brought to light. They were unpublished, they were not known as well, and they were published, and several tools were created for their studies. And then, of course, the meanings of the words therein that was studied, and with this they were compared, and the theories that are part of these texts, they were brought to light. One of the key development in this particular area is the theory of Spota, theory of Akhanda Shabda, and so on, propounded in the text of Vakyapadiyam by Bhartrhari, and so on. The new field has emerged in the form of computational linguistics, which has brought in digital technology. It has also facilitated research by giving more accessibility to materials, and it has also helped in creation of dictionaries, also thesauri, as well as indices. So this new material that is being available and that has brought in some amount of objectivity, some amount of transparency, as well as creativity, and then of course going beyond all that. So the field of computational linguistics is the new emerging one, and scholars are obviously attracted to this particular field. They are also working in this field for some years now, some time now, in bringing the field also update and also bringing more research. In this particular field, in this particular field, scholars come together and also um, have conferences and symposia organized where they present their research. And I must mention here that the International Sanskrit Computational Linguistics Consortium is an important international body which organizes symposia regularly. And the eighth symposium in the line of these activities is going to be held in the month of March 2026 at IIT Roorkee, and its call for papers are already out. So those who are interested, they should also try to attend this event and take some help from these to build new tools which will make the Vyakarana Shastra more accessible, more applicable, and the study of it more probably worth. Now, the key questions that we can ask over here are: can technological tools help us better understand Sanskrit sources? Can Sanskrit sources help us better understand and design technological tools? And lastly, can the knowledge of technological tools help us enhance Sanskrit Shastras written in Sanskrit? These are the key questions that obviously we can ask and we should ask. Can technological tools help us better understand Sanskrit sources where we have more access? And also the other way around, can Sanskrit sources and a sound and profound knowledge of those Sanskrit sources help us better understand and also design the technological tools? And the most important, the last question which I'm repeating is: can the knowledge of technological tools help us enhance the Shastras composed in Sanskrit? And these are the three very important questions that we keep asking ourselves constantly. And every serious student of Sanskrit should also ask his or her own self quite regularly, because these are really, really important questions. And I myself am focused also on all of these. And mainly, we try to answer these questions, all of them, one by one, in our research. So, the answers to these questions are yes, the technological tools help us better understand Sanskrit sources. And there are some references that are available to us now with the help of these tools. And so they are very much readily available to us and they help us understand these sources better. Also, the Sanskrit sources and their knowledge help us better understand and design the technological tools. This is also true. And the third question can be also answered in affirmative by saying that the knowledge of technological tools definitely helps us enhance the Sanskrit Shastras. The Sanskrit Shastras have come to a stage where they uh, have advanced to an extent and now they need to be pushed forward. And technological tools seems to be one of the important pushes that we can apply to the existing Sanskrit Shastras so that some new questions can be asked to the existing set of knowledge that is present in the Shastras. And in order to answer those questions, the existing material within those Shastras can be used And obviously, one can go beyond what exists and one can create some new Shastra. One can create some new text which caters to those questions which probably were not part of the inventory of the earlier traditional Shastrakaras. One of the questions, one of such questions was asked earlier at the beginning of the lecture when a slide I presented to you, and that was related to the eye tracking technology. And using that, if we try to gauge, if we try to figure out the amount of Shabdabodha that has happened, one can definitely ask questions which were not there for the Shastrakaras to think, and thereby we can then extend the set of knowledge available in the texts dealing with Shabdabodha, and we can definitely write new treatises. In fact, we have attempted to um, write such, we have succeeded in writing such. So, this is how we can clearly do better with the advent of this particular field called computational linguistics, Sanskrit computational linguistics. Now, here are some examples. So, the koshas or the dictionaries is an uh, important resource. So, as far as the philological work of dictionaries is concerned, the publication of dictionaries of synonyms, of homonyms, they were carried out by a lot of scholars. And of course, the current project of the Encyclopedic Dictionary of Sanskrit on Historical Principles, which is going on at Deccan College, Pune, and they are also using various technological tools now. But those are primarily the philological works that are available. The efforts are available in this particular field. Now, if we look at the principles of lexicography, there are these new ideas that keep coming up. For example, there is something called concept bag, there is something called ontology, and then proximity for disambiguation is extremely important. Very recent work by a student of mine, Dr. Prasad Bhide, as well as very recent work by Bhakti Jadhav, we track down some of the important principles of lexicography that are available um, in on these works. There is this new approach, uh, completely newly built thesaurus, a digital resource called Sanskrit WordNet that I would like to talk about. This is called Samskrita Shabdabandha or Sanskrit WordNet. This is built in-house at IIT Bombay, and this is primarily a digital resource, and it is created on the basis of certain principles that were stated earlier. And those principles are part of the domain of the lexical semantics, where there are lexical relations that are being talked about and are and the linkage is established. Then there is concept bag, source of disambiguation strategies, ontological base, concept distance, and concept path. These are all part of this thesaurus called Sanskrit Shabdabandha. Thanks to the one of the great scholars, Professor Pushpak Bhattacharya, who is no more, we were able to develop this Sanskrit Shabdabandha and experiment with these and similar ideas. In fact, using some of these concepts, we also prepared very good other resources. recently. In addition, more lexical relations, more grammatical features can be provided, and Vyakarana Shastra insights can be used. So, Phala Vyapara based explanations of meanings of verbal roots can definitely be provided. One of the key features of this Shabdabandha or Sanskrit wordnet is that this particular thesaurus is linked to more than 10 Indian thesauri, languages from different language groups. That is also possible. And so, if you are finding out a word in a Sanskrit language, you will be also able to get a synonym of it, let's say, in some other language. You'll be able to also get to see how a particular concept is expressed in those many Indian languages. This is a new creation, and we are open to create more such databases which are all interlinked, and a broad umbrella is formed called Indo WordNet. So, in creating this Sanskrit Shabdabandha, we have applied the principles that are available in modern lexicography, and we have also used the principles available in the Vyakarana Shastra, and that is how this kosha is arranged. And there are obviously concepts that are part of the computer science and engineering field. All these three they have come together, and we have created this wonderful database called Sanskrit WordNet. And this is an important addition to the current work that is being carried out. This is not mm, this is not the same work where one simply uses some particular text and rebrands it. This is a new work wherein the three disciplines have contributed: the modern discipline of linguistics, the computer science, and also obviously lexicography, and also obviously the Vyakarana Shastra. So this is how new tools can be developed. This is how new research can be carried out. The making of this Shabdabandha or Sanskrit WordNet was extremely insightful, and we have published a few papers on the making of this particular WordNet in this particular fashion. And that has given us quite a lot of insight about the overall system of language, overall phenomenon called language. And we plan to add more WordNets to the existing repository. Our broad plan is also to link the Indo WordNet with the European WordNet and also other WordNets in the world, and so create a WordNet that is called Indo European WordNet, and so on. The second example I would like to present, and this is where we come to the uh, cognitive new field called cognitive NLP. And in this particular field, we base ourselves on the eye tracker, a novel framework for predicting readers' understandability. And this can be um, studied with the help of the supervised learning system, and that will be able to tell us precise measure of what is being learned. Now, why Sanskrit and cognitive NLP? Understanding the theory is put forward in Sanskrit texts in a fresher way, gaining insights from them to understand the current phenomena, and exploring if these insights can be translated into developing systems to enhance the NLP. These are the clear goals that we keep before ourselves before getting into these explorations. And coming back to these new technical terms, this is the outcome of our work in which we introduced these terms post our research. And we focused on the concept of sentence and the definitions of sentence given in, let's say, Vakyapadiya. आख्यात शब्द संघातः जाति संघातवर्तिनी एको नवयव शब्दः क्रम बुद्ध्यनु संहृतिः पदमाद्यं पृथक् सर्वं पदं साकांक्षमित्यपि वाक्यं प्रतिमतिर्भिन्ना बहुधा न्यायवादिनाम्. Here there are 8 definitions of a sentence are given, and we can definitely test them using this particular methodology. We can also um, study about the Vakyartha that is being carried forward, that is being communicated by these sentences. So, to give you some instance about what happens in an eye tracking, if you have this particular sentence, Vande Mataram, obviously your eye runs from left to right, and so that will be the process that you will follow Vande Mataram, and then it will rest because the meaning conveyed is complete over here. Similar thing will happen with Satyameva Jayate. There is no problem here. These are the cases where problems are non-existent. But what happens in this particular verse, where you have Ya Kundendu Tusharahara Dhavala, Ya Shubhra Vastra Vrata, Ya Veena Varadanda Manditakara, Ya Shveta Padmasana, Ya Brahmachyuta Shankara Prabhritibhir, Devais Sada Vandita, Apujita, Samam Patu Saraswati Bhagavati, Nishesha Jadyapaha. Now, in this particular verse, how much of the content that you have grasped? If this question is asked, obviously, and if the eye tracker is used, obviously, it's not going to be easy. Mainly because you're looking at this ya everywhere, ya in all the 4 lines, which are linked primarily with the word sa in the final line. So your eyes would probably move in search of a verb first, that is patu, and then the linkage of ya with this sa. And so this linkage, which once established, will be able to then convey the complete sense of the lines that are part of this particular verse. And this is true more about the verses in Sanskrit, mainly because, as you see in this case, there is only one verb in all the 4 lines, and there are words which are interconnected with this sa in each and every line. So the eye movement has to go from ya in the first line, looking for its relative, which is sa, that appears in the last line, and those many movements, eye movements, will be recorded, and those many movements will indicate the kind of cognitive comprehension that one intends to do from this particular verse. Now, I think I have less amount of time, so I will not go through the other examples. There are very many other examples. Let us take this Raghuvamsha, and then we will move ahead, and probably then there will be time for summarization. So if we read this verse, Atha Prajana Madhipa Prabhate, Jaya Pratigrahita Gandhamalyam, Vanaya Pita Pratibadhavatsam, Yashodhano Dhenu Brishir Momocha. Obviously, you note that Momocha is the verb, so one will try to find out this Momocha, and then one will look for what is the Kartrupada of this, the Prathama Vibhaktiyanta, and then the Karma Pada, the Dvitiya Vibhaktiyanta, Yashodhanaha Dhenum Momocha. And then obviously this Yashodhanaha is linked with Adhipaha, and Dhenum is linked with Jaya Pratigrahita Gandhamalyam, and so on and so forth. So this is what the research will carry out and explain about the patterns in the cognitive contents. These explorations will be based primarily on the Vyakarana way of doing the Anvaya of the verse. There are similar examples. We can also do the same in terms of the critically edited texts of Sanskrit, that is divided into two parts, in which the first part is about the main text, and the second part consists of the variants, and there is constantly this going back and coming up, this particular phenomenon that constantly happens, and obviously one can see how much comprehension happens and how much is the eye movement uh, centering around these points. Then there are these other examples. And then, of course, there are other topics: mapping of Yogyata relations, textual history tool, cognition of proverbs, and compounds. These are some of the results. So, further studies in this and other areas will enhance our knowledge of language per se and also that of Vyakarana. To summarize, we showed how advancement in technology in modern world may be beneficial to comprehend Sanskrit resources. We also saw how technological advancement can be benefited by the contact with Sanskrit sources. And we also talk about several topics that can be studied in future. To conclude, this is a two-way process of give and take. The modern technology, the new Vista as we call it, the modern technology helps us better understand Sanskrit resources, and also Sanskrit resources help us better understand and design technological tools. Most importantly, this process should result in the development of Sanskrit Shastras through new ideas and new terminology, etc. There are two prakriyas known to the students of Sanskrit Vyakarana, namely Shabda Prakriya and Artha Prakriya. Shabda Prakriya deals with the derivation of the Shabda. Artha Prakriya deals with the overall processing of the meaning by the speaker as well as the hearer in the process of verbal communication. But there is one more Prakriya that is being constantly talked about but never explicitly expressed and mentioned, and that is Jnana Prakriya. So Vyakarana Shastra is emerging and talking about this Jnana Prakriya, which happens to be an important source for future work, future research. These are some of the new vistas that we have before us uh, for Vyakarana students. I thank my student Jayashree Gajam, who now is also an assistant professor at IIT Kharagpur, and also all my research students, research scholars, past and present at IIT Bombay. Our lab, Computation for Indian Language Technology at IIT Bombay. Again, Professor Pushpak Bhattacharya, Computer Science and Engineering Department, IIT Bombay. And finally, IIT Bombay, for allowing us to conduct research in these multiple areas, mainly to go beyond what the traditional Sanskrit Vyakarana Shastra teaches us. So, to remain for a minute and also to go beyond and also to apply it to the state of the art current technology developed by the technocrats and the scientists. These are some of the references. With that, I will close. Once again, I thank the authorities of the Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan to have invited me to deliver this prestigious talk. I thank all the listeners for their patient listening. Thank you very much. If there are any questions, I would take. If there are any comments, I welcome them most.
Any student have any doubts? I think no any person have any doubts, sir. So we will go ahead. Thank you so much, sir, for your enlightening lecture. Now I request Dr. Dirishvi Chani, Director, PG and Research Department, for vote of thanks. Please, Dr. Dirishvi Chani. Professor Dr. Marahal Kulkarni ji, we are highly obliged by your presence here on the day Monsi's birthday. Dr. Kulkarni ji, I, through you, present my from your very childhood. You are motivated to learn in both the land's traditional as well as modern educational system. I do also remember your meetings at SIDAC for Unicode and all other things. I do remember that this is going to be an unforgettable day for all of us because a person who is pursuing the line of Mukha of Yajna Purusha, Vyakarana Shastra, and not leaving any stone unturned. I thank you very much for your enlightening, thought provoking, and altogether new hypothesis for creation of a scientific method of grammar framing prerequisites. A bullet is shot from a gun, and the hearers from different regions present in their verbal format in different way. How is the with accessibility? One who hears for him is the Shabda. Otherwise, there is no sound. So you have pointed out the root area of the whole Shastra and preparing a new Tantra, a new terminology, new technique, new science. Marvelous is your journey and astonishing are your presentations, whether it is on Shvetashvatar Upanishad or Brahma Sutra or traditional Vyakarana approach or new understanding
of every component and prerequisites of Vyakarana Shastra Abhyas. Kudos to you, Dr. Kulkarni. You have earned the flag of the scholarship of India in many nations of the globe. And we heartily congratulate you for performing literally a feat in this field of keeping the traditional say in the modern age when we fear the whether these things will remain intact or not. But we are fortunate that we are witness to see that scholars like Dr. Kulkarni behind it and supporting the existence as well as enrichment and also in new flights in the Shastra. Thank you very much, sir. I
Thank you very much for the kind words, sir. Thank you very much.
very much and God bless you. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
थैंक यू वेरी मच, धन्यवाद महोदय। आज का कार्यक्रम यहीं पे पूर्ण होता है। सभी नमो नमः।
नमो नमः डॉक्टर कुलकर्णी।
नमो नमः, प्रणाम सर, पुनः भेंट होगी।
नमस्कार।
सो अधुना समापयामः एवं खलु?